Let's just talk about the difference between bluegrass and old time, because people hear that all the time. Let's just look at some of the differences in those styles. That I would call that bluegrass.
You would definitely call that bluegrass style. There's such a thin line between old time and bluegrass depending on the area that you live in.
Tucked away in the western hills of Napa Valley, with its rolling oak-studded hillsides, verdant grapevines, and inspiring atmosphere, this enchanting wine country landmark remains a dream destination for today's homebuyer.
One last question. I read a Washington Times article many years ago where you had a comment about the organization, and then now it's been in the Wall Street Journal, it's been in a lot of different newspapers, and that's the Bohemian Grove. And back in, 1996, when you joined as a Clinton advisor, the Republicans were criticizing you, what about Bohemian Grove? And then you countered them by saying, hey, I don't run around in the woods naked. What did that mean? Here is the before-mentioned Washington Times article where he said, I didn't run around naked like they do.
I don't know what quote you're referring to. I'm not aware of any quote like that. Listen, I am a happy member of the Bohemian Grove. I like the folks who come there, and it's really inappropriate for me to talk about a group beyond that. Thank you.
Have you been there for the ceremony with the cremation of care?
Frankly, I don't think that's something I need to talk to you about.
The Bohemian Club, as you say, the Bohemian Club, that's where all those rich Republicans go up and stand naked against redwood trees, right? I've never been to the Bohemian Club, but you ought to go. It'd be good for you. Get some fresh air.
Mr. Gergen?
I'm sorry, nobody sets policy in there. We try to be gentlemen, and obviously you don't belong there. Thank you, and goodbye. It's none of your business. It's none of your business.
Oh.
Listen.
One of the things that we're surrounded by every day is 100 different ideas about how to get to heaven. And with all of the pluralism in our society, we have to ask that really central question: do all roads really lead to heaven?
You're probably going to find this to be a little bit shocking to you, but I've come to the realization that everybody is going to heaven. That's right. Everybody is going to heaven. Now, don't turn me off yet. Please don't turn me off. Everybody is going to heaven, but not everybody's going to stay. Everybody's going to heaven, but not everybody's going to stay. You open up that book, that Bible, and you turn to the book of Revelation, you're going to find out there is a white throne judgment where we're all going to stand before God and give an account for all the deeds that we did in the flesh. Oh, my. Yep, everybody's going to heaven, but not everybody is going to stay.
We're hearing a lot of messages in our culture today from various religions and ideas of how to get to heaven, what God is looking for, and the belief that many of us have today is that all of them are kind of part of the truth or have elements of the truth, and that all of them are kind of okay. And I think this leads many people today to believe that whatever you believe is okay.
Flows right from the same philosophy. There are no absolutes about right and wrong. Professors sometimes say that when I do debates at universities. They'll say, there are no absolutes. I say, are you absolutely sure? If there are no absolutes, how can you be so sure? By the way, I tell them, if your brain is nothing but a collection of chemicals that got together by random chance over billions of years, how can you trust your thought and your reasoning process? Wow, think about that one.
You are tuned in to God's Property Radio. Here are your hosts, Sam and Dan.
Welcome back to God's Property Radio. I go by Dan.
And I go by Sam.
And this is episode number 14. Yeah, look at that.
All right, yes. We actually remembered what episode we are.
Look at that, and in sync too. You know,
yeah,
all that
our perfect
stuff we've been messing with. No, I'm just kidding.
Perfect imperfections, right, Dan?
Yeah, there you go.
Those of you who are tuning into us from iTunes, we just want to thank you for leaving another review. We have 4 reviews now.
Ooh, no trolls. Now all the trolls are going to come after us.
We've gotten some emails, right?
We've gotten a few. Actually, we've started to get quite a few emails.
Yeah.
You know what else we've started to get quite a bit of?
What's that?
We were just talking about it here. I think you were pretty excited about that.
Oh, yeah. Our downloads. Ever since we joined Revelations Radio Network, if you remember, I think it was Russ's episode, Dan? Was that
yes.
The episode that we talked about, like, where we were? And that was before we were actually a part of RRN.
When it was recorded.
when it was
we
recorded.
released it.
A week after we released it, we became part of RRN. But after we released it, I think we were at like just over 1,000 or like 1,200 downloads, in our short run here.
And it was a year. It was a year.
Yeah. It was 1,200 downloads, and now we've gone over 4,000 downloads. So we've tripled.
So we're talking at least a 280% increase in downloads.
That's right. So we're excited, and we just appreciate RRN for taking us on and trusting us not to be heretics.
I think so far we're pretty safe. We'll probably get an email from Chris after this, but yeah.
2015 is going to be rough.
Yeah. Anyway.
So there were some people that contacted us, Dan. Recently, somebody talked about our Russ episode.
Well, he actually talked about Russ's and Chris's episode.
Right.
He listened to both. We really appreciated you writing in, Justin. Justin also gave us some good, I don't want to call it criticism.
Why not?
There's a better word for it.
Constructive criticism?
Constructive input. When I think of criticism, I think of like you're really critical. You're a nasty person.
But critical isn't a nasty term. It's just somebody who's thinking and pointing out other things that you're not seeing.
Oh, that's true.
Very observational person.
Yeah.
Objective.
It was good. I don't agree with everything that Justin said. Parts of it I think need improving. Other parts that I don't. So Justin, keep giving your input though. We really appreciated it.
Yeah, no doubt.
And some of those things we will be improving on because they were good insights.
Yeah. I agree. There was somebody recently who commented too on an episode who talked about the compression.
This person kind of been chatting back and forth with us asking if we could reduce the file size because our episodes are so long, as I'm sure you guys have noticed.
His name's Dave.
Dave. How are you, Dave?
What
Shout
up,
out
Dave?
to Dave. We are working on that, Dave. I have messed around with the compression ratios a little bit. I did try it in a 96, 92 kbps, I think, kilobytes per second rate, I think is what it's called. It did reduce it quite significantly. You're really not losing too much quality. But yeah, we're going to try and get them as small as we can without compromising that quality. And then we're going to re-upload them, which actually it's been really beneficial for us because we've been running out of storage room. We were going to have to expand our Podomatic account again, which is fine if we have to do that. But this will allow us to stretch it further by reducing the file size down for you guys. So we're going to be working on that. Maybe by possibly the first of the year, we'll have everything shrunk back down. And
that's what we're hoping.
Yeah.
And you had also mentioned, Dave, something about giving maybe a smaller version and then a higher quality version. But our storage costs money, and we don't really have a lot of money, so
that is not us asking for money.
Yes, we're not asking for any donations,
money.
And we refuse to ask for donations unless it becomes an absolute need.
Right. We are tent makers, as you might say. The Bible. God has provided us with.
That's how we do.
With a great blessing of a job for both Sam's family and for mine, and we take care of the expenses here. But if you do feel so compelled to donate,
you know where to go.
There's Leonard Ulrich,
Canary
Cry, Gons, and Basil. And, Sam, this might just be the perfect time.
It might be the perfect segue.
And our third person is to donate to Rob Skiba's Seed the Series. Now, we have been discussing this mystery guest that we've been trying to get on. And the reason we kept it a mystery is because this person can be really difficult to get a hold of because they're so busy.
And currently, we're actually trying to get in touch with that guy again.
To do a part two.
I
think we will. It may be a really, really late December release for part two, but part one will be on time. And yeah, so I'm sure you've guessed it by now. That gentleman is
Mr. Rob Skiba.
Oh, yes, Rob Skiba.
And the episode will be called Nimrod 101, Part 1. And it was a very enjoyable conversation, but we won't get into that. We'll just let that be the next episode that you'll hear from us.
Mm-hmm.
And back to Dave on what he was saying. I just wanted to comment on, I believe it was Justin, was another person that you were mentioning earlier that we got the email from. He said something about the intros, which was really nice to hear.
Oh, yes.
On my end, because
Sam was blushing.
I appreciate that very, very much because I work pretty hard on those things, but I'm sure that I could spend more time. It's just I have a bunch of other things to do. So I don't spend as much time as other people.
Guys, actually, I need you to write in and tell Sam to relax a little bit. Maybe a little less time on the... No, I'm just kidding.
Okay, so, but I wanted to say thank you because I did get a comment from somebody on my episode, Janice. Janice, she said that the music made her crazy, so she shut the program off. However, she loved the program with Leonard Ulrich. I don't blame you for shutting my program off because it's like a 4-hour testimony, and I put a whole lot of music in it. And if you don't like my kind of music, then you're probably not going to like it that much. So I'm not offended by that at all, and I appreciate your input. You gave us some other recommendations of people to check out. Actually, Chris Pinto is somebody that both Dan and I really respect and are really wanting to get on the show eventually.
We do have a goal with that.
Yeah, we do have a goal, but we're not going to talk about our goal. And then you had pointed out 2 other people. One I hadn't heard of, Mike Gendron, and I just checked him out today, and that was actually some pretty good stuff on Catholicism. So that might be a really good interview to do. So I do appreciate your feedback, Janice, and sorry you don't like my music.
Yeah. We did receive another email, actually, from a blogger. Do you remember she had written in? She was asking about, do we celebrate Christmas and Easter and all of those things? We did send you an email response if you're still listening. We hope that you are. Just to kind of clear it up here, if you guys are listening and you're wondering, currently Sam and I our families do celebrate Christmas and Easter. Now, my wife and I are working our way through that, trying to discern if that is really acceptable to the Lord to do or not. There is a lot of evidence to say it's not, but I still think you can make an argument for it too. And I'm not swaying one way or the other here. All I'm saying is this: if you're listening to this and you're just like, you're nuts, you're crazy, all my wife and I are trying to do, and all I would encourage you to do, is to attempt to take a logical, non-biased approach to the subject. Right. And look at it from, okay, the Bible's the authority. I want to please God. Is this something that I need to change? And just look at it that way. I honestly don't know yet. I go back and forth. There are really good arguments for both. And we will, hopefully, if we get into a part 2 with Mr. Skiba, we will be discussing that, actually, the feasts and Christmas and Easter, and why to or why not to celebrate them, or why to celebrate the 7 feasts got laid out in the Bible. So, it's an interesting discussion. I would encourage everyone just keep an open mind. If you're celebrating Christmas, we're not going to hell, okay? I love Jesus, period, end of the day. Love covers a multitude of sins, if it indeed does fall into that category. However, if you do come to the conviction that it is wrong to celebrate those things, then I would remind you, though, in James it does say, to him who knows to do right and does not do it, it is sin. So basically, I'm going to leave it up to your own personal conviction between you and the Lord, as my wife and I are, and Sam and Mandy, I think, discuss it every now and then, and we just let the Holy Spirit guide us.
Right. And I think we'll probably definitely touch more on that.
We will.
On Nimrod 101 Part 2, probably.
Well, how can you not? I mean...
So, but I just wanted to say, since Dan was just responding to whoever the email was from, there was one last person that I have not replied to at all yet, and I could easily do it just by commenting on YouTube, but I just have to do it before the year's over.